This is going to be my review of Apartment 7A. This is the prequel movie to Rosemary's Baby. Now, this movie is a direct-to-streaming film, and that can either be a good or bad thing, honestly. Sometimes you can get a movie like Prey, and other times you can get, well, everything else. So, you're probably wondering, well, where did this land on? A movie that is a prequel to a legendary film in horror and brilliant use of time of the period piece and acting, and I'm thinking of First Omen. Yeah. So, yeah. Also, I'm just gonna come out and say it. This isn't the first time we've seen horror prequels on Paramount Plus that were basically meant to either be films that were connected to major franchises. We had it with, what was it, Next of Kin, the Paranormal Activity movie, which was ass. Then we had the Pet Sematary prequel, which was it was trying. It tried so hard, it just didn't get there. It just failed miserably. And now we have the Rosemary's Baby prequel. We're 0 for 3 on these Paramount horror prequels, guys. We are 0 for fucking 3. Because I gotta be honest, I'm now convinced that... Sorry, I had a bit of peanut butter in my mouth. I am now convinced that these movies don't start out as horror prequels to these films. I'm convinced that, next of that Paranormal Activity movie I talked about, I'm convinced that was supposed to be its own movie, and then they just slapped on the Paranormal Activity title to get people interested. In fact, I'm 90% sure that's what happened. Furthermore, the Pet Sematary prequel, that one, I'm pretty sure was just meant to be something else, but actually, no, I take that back. I'm pretty sure that was meant to be a prequel, Pet Sematary prequel through and through. Here, this movie is so loosely connected to the Rosemary's Baby film that I, again, am convinced that this movie was supposed to be a period piece horror film, and I think it was meant to be more like a Black Swan movie, and I'll get to that in a bit. But then they're like, we need some marquee value, and we just saw how good, I hear, Fox is making a prequel to The First Omen. How about we just slap some demon shit in it and call it, I don't know, Apartment 7A, and we make it a Rosemary's Baby prequel. That people like that movie, right? Them horror fuckheads will eat this shit up. No, we will not eat this shit up. This movie is fucking boring. And, yeah, this movie, I'm convinced this was meant to be something else. This was never meant, I'm just convinced, again, they heard that Fox was doing a movie prequel to The Omen and was like, hey, we got a movie about the Antichrist back in that was big, cool, let's do that. Yeah. So let's get into the actual story. So the story is about this young girl named Terry, who was a dancer, but she suffered an accident and is unable to dance. And down on her luck, she encounters a elderly couple who live at the Bramford the Bramford apartment, the Bramford Hotel. Apartment hotel, it kind of bounces back. Whatever. Bramford at the Bramford, a apartment complex that was in Rosemary's Baby. So, as you can imagine, the dancer wants to dance again, and she is being used as a vessel for a demonic entity to enter through and become a sacrifice. I'm not going to go into too much detail and spoil the movie. I will say that it feels like you kind of already know. It's not like with First Omen where the ending, but they change things in such an interesting way that make you go, oh, cool, that's really fascinating. That's a really fascinating take on the film. That's a really take on the universe and the lore, and it feels like it still connects to the original film. Here, yeah, none of that happens. None of that fucking happens at a moment. This movie, I'm convinced, was meant to be like more of a psychological thriller, and they just, again, I know I keep harping on that. I'm sorry. It just feels like we're just doing this story. And to its credit, the main actress who plays Terry, she's great. Like, she's great in here. The elderly couple, they're fantastic. It's funny, too, because they actually gave me more chills than any of the demon shit, which was not great. The demon possession shit was not... Like, the demon shit wasn't actually all that fun. But, and by fun, I mean scary. Yeah. They actually gave me a little more creep factor because, like, especially the elderly woman. Who is it? Diane Fossey who plays her? Not Diane Fossey. What the fuck? Diane something. But she reminds me too much of my grandmother when she's trying to be fake nice, and it just like, you know, something bad's gonna happen with her. Yeah, it just gave me some PTSD stuff. Maybe that's just why it's creeped me out. Anyway. So, the movie does aesthetically look pleasing, like it looks like 1960s New York, to a degree. There are other times where it just feels like, are we supposed to do the 60s, or is this the 50s? Because they say it's 1965, but it really doesn't feel that. It feels more like it's supposed to be 1955, which actually would have been a little more cooler to see, like, rather than have it set 3 years apart from, because Rosemary's Baby happens in 1968, it actually would have been a little more interesting if they said, like, if it was 10 years prior, that they tried this whole demon thing again, it just didn't work. That'd have been a really, like, you don't see a lot of demonic possession movies or satanic films set in the 50s. So I think that would have been a really cool angle to play with. Yeah, there's just nothing here for the most part outside of just some good acting from the main elderly couple and the main dancer. Nothing here. It is vapid. It barely clings onto anything of Rosemary's Baby, and it really makes you go, this was not needed. None of this was needed. The scares are bad. The plot also, it takes for fucking ever to get into the film. Like, it is a slow, like, I know Rosemary's Baby was a slow burn. Don't get me wrong. I am well aware that Rosemary's Baby was a slow burn. But the fact of the matter is, it at least had tension. It had an overarching story that felt like you were just as trapped as she was. Here, it's like everything is just spelled out to you. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. This movie was not great. If you have Paramount Plus, just skip it and go watch Quiet Place Day One. That's really, if you really want to see a good horror movie on Paramount Plus, just go watch Quiet Place Day One. That's all I can say. Anyway, so there you go. There's my review of Apartment 7A. We are 0 for 3 on these franchise adjacent films streaming directly to Paramount Plus. And I'm going to be honest, I'm now a little concerned about the Salem's plot. Almost said Salem's plot. Salem's Lot remake coming next week on Max. I haven't heard a lot of good things about it, so I'm already kind of bracing myself for, bullshittery at hand. I was already expecting that movie not to be great because of how much it got, delayed and whatnot, and then dumped on streaming. So my expectations are kind of low for that one. But anyway, I'm rambling. So you guys tell me in the comments below, if you guys watched Apartment 7A, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of it. Other than that, I hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time on Multiverse. Minor addendum to what I said earlier about how Paramount is kind of 0 for 3 for these franchise prequel streaming movies, whatever. There is one. They are 1 for 4. That's what I should have said, because I completely forgot about First Omen. That movie slaps. If you want to check out a good, horror prequel, the only good horror prequel of these movies on Paramount, go check out First Omen. I completely forgot about it. It literally was out of my brain because I was just so fucking bored with this movie. It just logged out. But yeah, First Omen, you're 1 for 4 in these Paramount movies. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.